I believe in life, there is a line in which violence appears. I want to make this very clear because people are going to try and misinterpret it. I do not believe in abusing children. I do not believe in beating children at all. But I believe in life, there is a line in which violence appears. And this is true for everyone. People often say, shouldn't hit girls. So yeah, right, shouldn't hit girls. I'd never hit a girl. Say, well, that's not necessarily true. I'm sure if a girl turned up and set your house on fire and then killed your dog and then tried to stab you, you'd do something, right? I mean, police officers shoot women when they charge at them with knives. Like, nobody is off limits to violence. Yeah. There is a line that if you cross, violence appears. Now, do I hit my kids? No, because I don't have to. But would I? Sure. If I say, you better stop, and he disobeys me. You better stop, he disobeys me. I'm a man and you're a child, and I'm about to show you why. You don't want to find out. This is your last warning. If he defies me, he has crossed the line where violence will appear. Will he be hurt? No. Will he suffer bruises and will he need to go to hospital? Of course not. He'll be absolutely fine. But he will learn that there's a line. Now, we all know that as men. We all know if I get in your face and keep talking too much, sooner or later, we're going to fight. We all know that, right? So how can I raise boys and not prepare them for the real world? The real world that we live in, not the false world that women want to live in, not the false world that liberals want to live in. In the real world, if you run your mouth, sooner or later, you're going to get checked. So you have to be prepared to fight for every single word you say or don't say it. And I think it makes me a good father to make it clear to my boys that if you want to talk tough, that's fine, but there will be consequences. Now, if you beat me up, then you can keep talking. If you beat me, then you can talk.
You want some respect to this kid? You want some of this?
Yeah. I'll say to him, look, I've given you an opinion. You've given me your opinion. It seems there's an impasse here. Yeah. It looks like we have to go kinetic, sir. So if you beat me, then you can continue to tell me you want Cheerios. But I've said there's no motherfucking Cheerios. So it is what it is. So the answer, truthfully, respectfully, would I hit my children? If they cross the line, yes. Am I a psycho? No. Have I had to hit my kids thus far? No. But one of the main reasons I don't have to hit them is because they know I would. Let's analyze this. This is important. One of the reasons I don't have to hit my kids is because they know I would. One of the reasons the police don't have to shoot you is because you know they would. If you knew the police would never shoot you, you wouldn't comply. You comply because you know there is a threat of violence at the end of it. And there's a lot of people who are anti-violence, right? People go, oh, violence is bad. Guys, wake up. Violence is the underpinning of civilized society. Violence runs everything. This world we currently live in is run by violence. Why am I returning to Romania on the 23rd of March? Because if I don't, they'll put out a piece of paper. It's just a piece of paper. What can a piece of paper do to you? Well, that piece of paper means guys are going to come get me. And who are those people? Why don't I tell them to fuck off? Because if I do, they will become violent. That piece of paper has power because it is backed by the threat of violence. A police officer has power because it's backed by the threat of violence. And a father has power because it is backed by the threat of violence. My sons know if they disrespect me, there will be consequences. Let me quickly analyze if I owe them or if they owe me. Because I feel like they owe a lot to our last name. I feel like they're heavily indebted already. I feel like they owe me and they owe my father and they owe our last name and they owe our bloodline. I feel like they owe me. I owe them the best chance they can be to be their best selves. Of course I do. And I am heavily interested. I am father of the year. Anyone who thinks I'm not a father, I guarantee you I spend more time micromanaging my son's upbringing to make him a hero than you could possibly believe. So I do have a duty to them to give them the best possible chance. But they have a duty to me to not squander it. My children have a massive burden over their head, which is the Tate name. And people often say, oh, it's bad to have a father who you're trying to live up to. Da, da, da. I mean, I'm sure loads of psychologists say this, but they're all liars anyway. Psychology doesn't work. They've never cured anybody ever. So psychology is garbage, and therapists are garbage, and liberals are garbage, and what women think about raising boys is garbage too. That's all garbage. I think the best thing that can happen for a boy to be raised into a kingdom and look up and say, shit, dad's the fucking man. I gotta be like dad. This is hard. Oh, it's a burden of performance. Oh, does that make you feel stressed? Welcome to life, son. Because guess what? I have a burden of performance. I have a burden of performance in that courtroom. I have a burden of performance after a 12-hour flight to get off the jet and walk out to the media and deal with them. I have a burden of performance permanently and endlessly. So that's the real world. If you're a man, you have a burden of performance. So I make sure that they understand that from a very young age. No, it's my job. You know what? It's actually a balancing act. And I'll be honest with you, very honest with you. Raising daughters is so much easier. Because with my daughters, I feel like I just want her to be happy. You know, my daughter, I just want her to be happy. You want to be a princess? Oh, you're a mermaid. That's great. You're a mermaid. You're a princess. It's Christmas. You're happy. You're smiling. With my daughters, I just want them happy. But with my sons, it's far more detailed because I don't want my sons to be happy as much as I want them to be capable. I don't want my sons to be miserable, of course, but I don't wake up and think, just make him happy. I do with my daughters. I'm the worst. I'm a girl. With a girl dad, she wants a toy. Give her the toy. Oh, he wants a toy. He wants what? What does he want? How many push-ups has he done? What do you mean toy? What toy? Bring him here. And I get mad because with your sons, you're far more, you have to prepare them for life as a man.
Yeah.
It's harder.
Toughness.
It's hard to be a man. So I have a duty, truthfully, I think to my sons, the hardest thing is for me not to be as soft as I want to be.
Ooh.
Like with my daughter, with your daughters, you get to just be yourself. And everyone thinks that I'm a big, mean, evil man. But you'll often know if you've been through enough life that the mob bosses or the big evil man, we're the softest guys. I'm so soft with my daughters and with my kids. And sometimes with the boys, it's hard to be hard on them. But you have to be. It's my duty sometimes to harden my heart and say, no. I say this, and I've answered this question before, and people find my answer surprising, but I'm going to be very honest with you. My plan for my daughters and my number one hope for my daughters, if I could plan their lives head to toe, would be for them to, at a relatively young age, meet a man who is older than them, who can take care of them financially and get pregnant and have a family. If my 21-year-old daughter wanted to marry a 48, 50-year-old guy, I'd be very happy with that. I'd be like, good. He's probably settled down a bit. He has enough money to take care of you. You're going to be good. In this scenario, which you've just described, if the man is financially providing for her, if he's offering her provision and protection and she's safe, I would truthfully, from the bottom of my heart, say to her, look, there's no point losing the man who's paying for you, who takes care of you, who will die for you, who protects you, who does all of those jobs as a man because he's running around with a few silly girls. There's no point leaving him. You can confront him, we'll talk to him, but there's no point in destroying your family home over this. That's what I would say. People may think I'm not telling the truth, but I'm telling you that's what I would genuinely say. People will say Andrew has a bunch of baby mamas and that he's irresponsible. But truthfully, a man's true obligations are protection and provision. This is why the Bible said if you rape a woman, you have to marry her. People see that as, oh, that's bad for the woman. But what they were trying to do is say to men, you're responsible for what you create. You now need to protect her. You must provide for her because of what you've done. It was almost like marriage was not a punishment for the man, but an obligation for the man. And he was explaining that marriage throughout the longest period in human time was protection and provision. That's all it was. A king could have more wives because he could protect and provide for more wives. He's saying marriage was not bouquets. Marriage was not remembering anniversaries. Marriage was not date nights. Marriage was not holding hands. Marriage was, do I protect you? Do I provide for you? So he effectively defended me and said, Andrew does not have a bunch of baby mamas. He has a bunch of wives because they're all paid for. They're all protected. They all have private security. They're all in mansions. They all drive Bentleys. He's doing his job as a man. That's what a man is supposed to do, effectively. So I would say to my daughter, are your bills paid? Now, if he cuts the money off, or if he refuses to help her or protect her, if he leaves her in the ghetto, that's a different conversation. But if my daughter came to me and said, Dad, say, yes, what's up, my love? I'm living in my mansion and I'm driving my Bentley and I have my 4 nannies and my private security guards. And I found out that my ultra rich husband has a little girlfriend who's 19 and I'm 36 now and he has his little young, hot, cute girl. I'd say, don't stress him out and piss him off. Just give him 2 days off a week and get over it. That's what I would say. That's the truth. That's what I would say. Welcome to the real world. It may not be nice, may not be pretty. The real world isn't. But at least you're paid for, at least you're taken care of.
Is this it? Right?
Yes. Yeah. And accessibility is also a very important one. I'll be honest. Like if a lot of this comes down to money, but I don't want to be shallow, but so much in life comes down to money because money is your capability to do many things, right? There's no way you can effectively raise that many children without a huge source of money. Of course, it's very expensive to do. But if you do have a huge source of money, I think Amor and I would have a very long conversation about the fact that cars get boring and watches get boring, and you may as well have a whole bunch of children. You may as well have a whole bunch of sons if you can afford to raise them. And you have the time, you can take the time out of work because you're rich enough to put effort and focus into them. I'm not looking to just have children and abandon them. I'm not trying to just create genetic progeny that are forgotten about. The Tate boys need effort. The Tate boys need energy. The Tate boys need money because they're the Tate boys. But I like to think I can afford 20. So that's what I'm going to do. And women, and this is something else we have to discuss about women, because this actually ties back into the human trafficking and the feminism and all these things. Women are in a very interesting position now in Western society where they are equals, while also being better than us because they're girl bosses, while also being children because every time they make a decision that other people don't like or they end up not liking, they didn't do it, someone tricked them. So we're in this this 3-phase garbage scenario where women are better than you, plus children, plus you're equal. Because when I say that the women I'm with are happy for me to have children with other women, you've tricked them. They're full-grown adults. I thought they were our equal. I thought they could come up to their own conclusions. I thought they could sit there and go, you know what? A life from Andrew Tate. I get to be one of the most famous men in the world. He's extremely security conscious. I get to be very rich. I know my kids are going to be brown, sexy, tall, strong. They're going to have Patek Philippe's, diamonds, etc. It's fine. That's their decision to make, right? But people are going to pretend that I fooled them somehow. And I actually think this is an interesting segue into how we fix modern society. And one of the most important distinctions we need to make as a civilization in the West. Because all of our problems, from false rape charges, which I know a lot about, to feminism, to all of this garbage, comes down to this impossible scenario where women are girl bosses and better than men at everything, while also being our equal, while also needing DEI to get anywhere, while also being children who are permanently tricked into everything. And this is a really interesting scenario to be in. And I can give you a very simple example. If there's a crazy bitch, woman, Megan Kelly. Okay, now. If there's a crazy woman, right? And she's nuts, and she takes Valium to sleep every night, and she's on mental health medication, and she drinks all the time, and she's crazy, and everyone knows she's a hoe. She's been with all the guys in town, and I marry her. And then she divorces me and takes half my money. And I come to you guys and go, guys, I used to be rich. I had to cut the spaghetti in half. I lost it. She took all my money. You will sit and say to me, why did you marry her? She's nuts. Everyone knows she's nuts. You will blame me, right? Whereas if a woman goes out, takes drugs, gets high, gets drunk, goes to the club, kisses 4 men, kisses the 5th man, gets in the taxi with him, goes back to the hotel, initiates sex with him, has sex with him, has no problem with that sex, asks him for a handbag 2 years later. He says no, then cries rape. No one will say, why did you do all those things? Why were you high? Why were you in his hotel? Why did you have sex with him? Instead, we'll say, that man's a predator. Why? We always blame the man. Women are not held accountable ever. It's always the man's fault all of the time. My argument to that is, if that's the paradigm, if the men are permanently the only ones we blame for anything, then how can you make women better than us at everything and give them any kind of autonomy? You have to either say to women, listen to your father, then listen to your man, because you don't know good for yourself, or you have to say, you know good for yourself, so you're responsible for the scenarios you find yourself in. All of the world's problems come from the fact that we're picking and choosing, like Schrodinger's cat, picking and choosing at random, depending on the scenario, whether a woman is better than a man or a completely helpless child who is fooled all of the time. And when you apply this to society, there's not a single problem you can't tie back to this exact thing. And it's scary and it's dangerous. There's not a single man on the planet now in the Western world that can even truthfully get consent to have sex, because consent can be retrospectively taken back. So you could be a man and meet a woman and have sex with her and have a full, happy relationship. You could be with her for 2 years and you could be together and she can live with you and everything could be fine. And then the second she doesn't like you, she can say to the police, he abused me. Like, did he abuse you? Well, he didn't hit me, but he emotionally abused me. Oof. How? What does that mean? I felt sad sometimes. Okay, arrest him. What? What? This is an impossible scenario for a man to be in. This is why also I have my women, I have my wives, I'm done. All these beautiful Instagram models, stop begging. I'm sorry. I'm done. I don't trust any of you. I'm done. Because if I talk to any new girl, it's going to be great until I don't buy the handbag. It's going to be great till I don't put her on that jet because another girl's on that jet. Now I got all these problems and I've had enough. So I'm done with women. But isn't it absolutely insane that we're living in a world now where no one wants to address the fact that women can weaponize the legal system to destroy men absolutely at random? And they do it to every single man. This is why they attacked me with sexual crimes, because even the accusation is enough for them to get what they want, which is to damage your reputation. And they can simply do it by lying by omission. Let me ask you a question as a professional. Let's be pertinent. Let's be smart here. If I'm the police and I want to destroy a man, and I call 100 women who he's ever known, and 99 say he's a great guy, and 1 says he's a bad guy, I don't have to mention that 99 said he's a great guy. I can lie by omission. I can ignore all 99 who defended him, all 99 who say he's a great guy, all 99 who says the one other girl is a psycho liar. We can ignore that too. We can take this one girl and destroy the man. What's this one girl's motivation? Well, he's no longer giving her money. He's famous, he's rich, he's well known, he's living his life, he has a new girlfriend. Let me ask you this, and I don't even know the answer. What percentage of women are on mental health medication? What percentage of women are depressed? You think women don't lie? I would argue, and I'm going to guess, 17 to 24% of women are on drugs because they can't control their own brains. But we're going to listen to the one we find out of 100 saying a man's a bad guy because he made her feel sad once 4.5 years ago. Destroy this man? Do you not understand that this paradigm, 17.7%, I'm a genius. I'm a genius.
56% receive mental health treatment.
Then half of them are nuts. I'm a genius. So this is my point. No, but let's understand. Why has the Matrix put this paradigm together? Why do they allow and continue to tell us that women are better than us to destroy masculinity? They're equal to us, even though they need DEI. And at the same time, they're children who are susceptible to our godlike powers to control their minds, and that we're responsible for all of their decisions. It's very simple. Because by putting together that paradigm, they can pick any man at random they don't like. Me, Trump, Hegseth, I think, had this. Matt Gaetz had this. They can pick any man at random they don't like. They can call every girl he's ever known, and they can get a criminal case. That's how they do it. Let me tell you something else about women. This happened to me. I had women who didn't even intend to rat on me, and they didn't. But the police bring them in. Women are not prepared for 10-hour police interviews. If you bring a woman in and go, did Andrew ever hurt you? No. Did he ever abuse you? No. He's abusive to women. Well, he wasn't abusive to me. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Well, did he ever make you sad? Well, we argued sometimes. Yeah, so that's abuse. Well, I don't think it is. Well, when you were sad, what did you do? Well, we just went out. You just ignored me and went to work. With another girl, right? Yeah, I think so. After 10 hours, they end up believing they're a victim. They brainwash them. And they know what they're doing. The police are trained to do this so they can get that one chick to wreck your life with. And this is what's extremely important. Anyone who understands the world, they do this on purpose so that no man is safe, because it is the warriors, the men. Now, if you're the kind of man who's going to stand up and fight against the system and fight against the Matrix and resist enslavement, have you had sex? Probably. You're probably not an incel virgin, right? You're probably the kind of guy who knows some chicks. That's the attack vector always. They go, Andrew Tate, girls. Hegseth, girls. Matt Gaetz, girls. Trump, girls. They use women. They weaponize them against men. And this is something that not a lot of people understand. And it's scary, and it's something we need to fix. As a society, we have to make a decision. Are women sentient beings? Do women come to their own conclusions or not? Let's talk about human trafficking. Nobody who's accusing me and tweeting these stupid things even knows my fucking charges. I thought human trafficking, I didn't know what human trafficking was. I thought human trafficking was getting someone, beating them up, putting them in chains, dragging them somewhere, keeping them chained up, and forcing them to do something, sex or wash dishes, whatever. That's what I thought human trafficking was. But in this insane subjective world where women are children who can be fooled into anything, they're saying human trafficking is, no, you used the lover boy method. You were nice to her. And because you were nice to her and you used financial incentives to make her do something, you're telling me I was nice to my girlfriend and bought her a handbag and that made her do something? And that's human trafficking? Guys, analyze this. If you are nice to a woman and buy her a present and she does anything ever, even if you didn't tell her to do it, they could say, he made her do that. He made her have TikTok. And even if she says, no, he didn't make me have TikTok, or the girls in my case saying, no, he didn't hurt us. The girls in my case are defending me. Doesn't matter what you say, he brainwashed you. He made you have TikTok because he bought you handbags. Guys, please understand, no man is safe from this bullshit. No man is safe. And that's why they keep this so vague. People talk about consent all the time. You need to get consent, get consent. How can you get something they can take away years later? You can't get consent. That's why a huge proportion of the men, the young men in the world today, are just checking out girls and checking out sex. Like, oh, fuck this. It's a mess. I'm not even getting involved in it. I can't blame them. It's a minefield. Nobody's safe from this garbage. Absolutely nobody. You know, I think one of the things my father instilled in me, and it came from his teachings and it came from lots of different lessons, but especially it came from chess, is because chess is ruthless. There's a lot of people, especially men, who I'm surprised by this fact, but I would argue it's the truth, who believe their enemies are going to have pity or mercy. There's a lot of men who you'd be surprised believe that pity is going to appear or mercy is going to appear somewhere. And if you change your mindset and change your framing to understand that your enemies are never going to have mercy on you, they're never going to see you as a human, they're never going to feel sorry for you ever, then the only end result to that is action. And the only action is to fight back. There's a whole lot of men who go, oh, you know, well, if I'm just quiet, or if I just behave, or if I'm just good in front of the police, or if I'm just nice to the judge, they'll let me off. No, they won't. Your enemies are out here to mercilessly crush you. They don't care about what happens to you. They do not feel responsible for the consequences. They do not have empathy for you. They're not interested in any of that. Look what the liberals tried to do to the conservatives when they had power. The biggest problem with conservatives is we don't do that, right? We're going to allow our enemies to just walk around and get away with everything, right? But when they're in power, they crush mercilessly. That comes from chess. When you're getting crushed in a chess position, praying that he's nice to you in a tournament is insane. It's not going to happen. When you're in the cage and you're fighting and you're on the bottom and he's grounding and pounding you, you can't sit there and go, maybe he'll feel sorry for me. None of this is real. None of this is real. So when I look at the UK, I look how insane it is. I look how they're trying to destroy my life. I look at how they're wrecking the country. I look at how everything's a complete mess. I don't sit there and expect these people to one day wake up empathetic. I don't expect them to one day wake up and get a brain, or wake up one day and realize what they're doing wrong. I see them as violent oppressors who have no intention to do anything other than instill full communism amongst the entire population. So there's only one choice. You either let them do it or you fight back. What are you going to do? You either let them get away with it or you resist them. So my intention to become UK Prime Minister is absolutely 100% legitimate. I want to save the country I grew up in, because if I don't do it, they're going to succeed. There's only ever been a good man against a bad man. If you're going to let the bad men run rampant, they're going to finally conquer. So I am absolutely serious about saving the United Kingdom if I can. I'm going to do my absolute best. That's why they want to put me in jail. They know I'm a threat to them politically. They know that. That's why they want to lock me up for my tweets. I would argue that the royal family was collapsed by therapy and psychiatry. This is a theory I've come up with completely out of nowhere.
Literally, like you believe this?
You know, when I got the 17%, I'm just that guy. I just know things.
Okay.
Right? I just know things. I would argue that the royal family, which was the backbone of the United Kingdom, was being held together by the Queen. When the Queen died, I said to Tristan, this is the end of England. Because the Queen was the last respectable member of the royal family. I like Kate and Will. I like them. But I would argue that when Diana died, the boys were put through endless therapy and psychotherapy and all of this garbage. And I think it is one of the largest and most dangerous industries in the world today. It's as dangerous as pharmaceuticals. Making full-grown men sit down and cry and talk about how hard their life is the worst thing you can do with full-grown men. I really would argue. I would argue it's not a real science. I would argue it's subjective garbage. And I would argue there's nothing that will destroy your mind faster than therapy. I think the entire royal family was completely hijacked by these therapists and these psychoanalysts that have turned everything weird. That's why Meghan and what's his name? The one who married Meghan. I can't remember his name. Harry's weird with Meghan. She bosses him around. It's all just weird.
Harry is not the top G.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I think all of that's down to psychiatry. We could talk about why I have my theories on psychiatry a little bit after. So that's the royal family. As for the political class, the Europeans currently are stuck in a very difficult scenario, because I really don't see how they currently align with the United States government on nearly anything. They are full communist. They're full femme-centric. It's a matriarchy. It is collapsing in real time economically. The men which reside inside of Europe don't seem to have enough in them to resist this enslavement and this population replacement, which is another huge thing we have to talk about in Europe. Europe's being completely destroyed, and there's no masculinity to resist it, it seems. If you destroy masculinity inside of a society, the society is ripe for conquest. And the average man in Europe simply is not man enough to get other men together, to find other men to resist. But let's talk about this. This is an important point. I take my glasses off for this because it's extremely important. Europe has destroyed free speech. Why does this matter? I'll tell you why this matters. If you're a billionaire or if you're in charge, you can lie. So if you're in charge of things, you can stand up in front of the cameras and say, I'm going to do X. And then behind the scenes, you can do Y. You're allowed to lie because you have actual power. Whereas if you are not powerful, your only power is in numbers. So you can't lie because you need to find other people who align with you and think like you do so that you can win in large numbers. So you have to be able to say what you think and say what you feel to find the other members of your army so you can all stand up and get in a crowd and say enough is enough. So the reason they silence free speech in Europe so heavily is so that you never find the other people who think like you. That's the reason they shut down social media so hard. So you can't stand up and say, this is garbage. Because if you do, you go to jail. So even if you think it, you don't say it. And as an unimportant man, you can't lie. You can't tweet, "This is not garbage," and still be effective. Whereas a billionaire can lie and still be effective. The common man needs speech and needs truth to find an army that allows him to resist oppression. And that is why Europe is gone psycho, Stalin, full Stasi on speech. That's what they're afraid of. Because if you could tell the truth in England on social media for a week, there'd be a revolution. And they know that. That's why they want me in jail. That's why they don't let anyone tell the truth. They know that. Keir Starmer himself knows that. That's why they've done what they've done. That's fine. That is the face of evil, sir. Look at that. That is incompetence incarnate. Look, that's not a leader. England was the greatest country in the world. I watched. It brought tears to my eyes. I watched the Battle of Cairo. I watched Nelson fight the French fleet, a YouTube video, at the Battle of Cairo. I even tweeted it in full. The heroism showed by the Brits only 200 years ago. These were the best men on the planet. A tiny island with the largest empire in history. I was in America till I was 8, but I spent my teenage years in the UK. I feel very British. The British were the hardest, strongest, most resilient people on the planet. When the British were coming, only the Americans seemed to have beat them. You were scared when the British were coming. We sailed all around the world. We opioid wars in China, Battle of Cairo, Waterloo, you name it. We beat Napoleon. We did. The Brits. And now look, soy face is locking us up for having an opinion. And we're sitting there on our asses, afraid to say anything. This exact clip will be played in front of a judge when they lock me up. But it has to be said, because that is not the leader of the United Kingdom. That is not the leader the United Kingdom deserves. UK is an even more dire scenario than the United States. We need Trump or someone Trump-esque. And Nigel Farage isn't up to the task. He's not strong enough. It's me or I don't know who else. But UK is in a mess. We need someone of Trump's level to fix it. Because this guy here is doing nothing but run it into the ground. And it really, truly breaks my heart because the UK was the greatest country on earth. And that's why I want to become the prime minister, to restore it to its former glory. Britain and the history of Britain and the amazing things it's achieved. The fact that London is a country where you can't even wear a watch anymore is not just disgraceful. It's absolutely disgusting. People should face treason charges for what they've done.
Okay, so
the UK does have a problem where a lot of the culture is being eroded, and it's being eroded by an Islamic immigration. And this is going to make Muslims mad when I say it, but I understand why the native Brits feel threatened by that and are unhappy with that. When you talk about crime statistics, it's difficult because you can do the same thing with black people in the United States. But black people are a part of the United States. It's seen as racist to say that they're a lower percentage of the population, but they commit more of the crime. But you can do the same with black people in the United States. But black people live here, and they're always going to live here. I like to be ultra realistic about all things. And I like the idea of Britain retaining its culture and feeling like England. A lot of the stabbing that happens in the UK isn't from Muslims particularly. It's actually from Christians from Africa. A lot of it's third worlders. A lot of it's black youths inside of London who do most of the stabbing, the majority of it. So I think we have a huge disconnect here that we have to discuss. And the disconnect is third world versus first world and attaching Islam to the third world. And in some cases that is true, but there are first world Islamic nations which are much safer than any Western nation. So you have a lot of third world Christians which are coming in, committing heinous crimes. The Southport killer, he was from Rwanda, I believe he's a Christian family, and he killed 4 or 5 little girls, stabbed them to death recently. That's what caused all the riots. Any Muslim who is not outraged by the crimes committed by Muslims is part of the problem. And this is the identity politics problem, right? We had this with blacks and George Floyd, etc., and all these things, and BLM. If a black person commits crime, then black people should stand up and say, I don't care if he's black, he committed a crime. Yep. But when you have people who rally around somebody purely because of their religion or the color of the skin, irregardless of their actions, that's how you foster hate. If you want to give racists what they want, and I'm part black, part white, if you want to make white people hate black people, all that takes is for black people to defend a black person who breaks the law. Now they're like, well, all you black people are a problem because this guy was a criminal and you're sticking up for him. So what I was saying is that the Muslims who complain that Islam is hated in the West, they're making it worse by sticking up for grooming gangs and serial murderers. I don't care what race or religion you are. If you're killing little girls, you're a scumbag. And in an Islamic nation, you would face the death penalty. So I don't care if it doesn't make me a real Muslim for that. I don't care. But I will be honest. I'll be very honest. What he said is extremely interesting. Because when I say these things online, I get no pushback and no hate from the Gulf Arabs. I get no pushback and no hate from the first world Muslims. None of that. It's only from the extremists. And the extremists are all living in Bradford. They're all living in the UK. It's really interesting that the most extreme points of view I get for the things I say about Islam are from England. It's never from the Islamic or the Arabic world. I saw another really interesting thing, actually. I'd like someone to find it. It was a post I saw on Twitter from a Pakistani guy. And he said, I'm from Pakistan. I live in Islamabad. And I was recently in Birmingham. And it felt more Islamic. And it was more backward thinking than anything you would see in Pakistan. He said, Islamabad is a far more liberal place to live than Birmingham, UK. He's saying the Pakistanis who are still in Islamabad are less Islamic and less extreme about things than those inside of Birmingham, UK. So you can have a conversation about all of these things. It's a long and detailed conversation. It'll get me in a lot of trouble. And as I'm only 2.5 years into Islam, I don't know all of the ins and outs. There's other people who know it better than me. What I will say is that I believe every country and every race, every identity has a right to their land. I believe that. I believe that the British people have a right to have an England for British people that feels like England. You can argue what a British person is. Perhaps the definition may be slightly changing, but you would argue that Great Britain has a Christian heritage. And I don't think there's anything wrong as a Muslim to say that Great Britain is a Christian country. It's always been a Christian country and it should remain a Christian country. I believe that. I like that they let me visit. That's fine. I would never go to the UAE and say this should be a Christian nation. I would never do that. So why do we do it the other way around?
Genuinely imagine what you would look like. Imagine where you would live. Imagine the car you would drive. Imagine how much your woman would respect you. Imagine the love you would see in her eyes when she looks at you with adoration like a king. Imagine your existence. That person is waiting for you. And the only thing that's stopping you from being that person is your monumental laziness. You can have it. The universe is very giving. It will give you anything you work for. I've never seen somebody try for something with all of their might and not get it. The only people who do not have the things they want are the people who do not try for them. I've never seen a person wake up and say, my only dedication in life is to solve a Rubik's Cube and fail. You are not stupid. You are not incompetent. You are lazy and arrogant. It's extremely important you understand that that person is waiting for you and you are declining that version of yourself. In the multiverse, in the many different versions of the universe that exist, there is a version of you that does those exact things. And he is a greater person than you can even fathom. You can transform yourself into that guy. You can be a top G. That's exactly what I did. I knew who I was going to have to end up being before I became that person. My brother and I are not from rich families. We are not from advantaged beginnings. But I knew I had to be a big, strong, fighting billionaire. That's what I knew I had to be. Discipline is the key to success. If you cannot force yourself to do something you don't want to do, how are you ever going to put yourself through the suffering required for greatness? If you cannot force yourself to train when you do not want to train, if you cannot force yourself to work when you don't want to work, if you can't force yourself to not log into Pornhub or force yourself to eat right, how can you possibly ever become a monumentally successful person if you cannot control yourself long enough to do what must be done as opposed to what you feel like doing? The only people who get to live their lives based on how they feel are women and children. Children can cry because they feel like crying, as can a woman. A woman can start an argument because she feels like arguing, as can a child. A man must do what he is supposed to do irregardless of how he feels. That is the key component to masculinity, is discipline. If you do not have the discipline to dedicate yourself to anything, you are going to fail and be crushed by the people who can. If you only go to the gym when you feel like going to the gym, you're never going to be as strong as the people who go to the gym when they don't feel like going to the gym. That is a reality of life. So, I train every single day. I've actually heard from some people saying, you overtrain. And I explained to them, one, I don't believe in rest. I'm not you. I'm not pussy and I'm not broke like you are, Mr. Fitness Trainer, standing around the gym teaching people for $50 an hour. I don't need to listen to you. Secondly, I don't train because I want to get bigger. I train every day because it is difficult to train every day. It hurts. I don't want to. I wake up and I'm busy. I have other things to do. I don't feel like doing it. So I force myself to do it 7 days a week, 365 days a year, so that I know I'm the kind of person who can do what he doesn't want to do when it needs to be done. I am that man. And it's more of a mental exercise than a physical exercise at this point. How can you ever outcompete me if I can force myself to do the things I don't want to do and you cannot? Discipline is absolutely essential for success, and you need to get very comfortable and very used to the idea of understanding that on your path to greatness, there are going to be long periods of time where you hate what you are doing, where you are dissatisfied with the actions you must undertake, where you are tired, where you are stressed. That is why it is difficult. That is why most people won't make it. If the path was easy, everybody would walk it and it would lead nowhere. 100 people start the path, 99 fall off because it is difficult, and the one person who makes it to the end gets the gold. If all 100 made it to the end and the gold was divided by 100, it wouldn't even be worth anything. The difficulty gives it value. The fact that it is difficult to do is the key component into the fact you want it in the first place. If it wasn't difficult, everyone would have it and you wouldn't want it because no one would respect it. It's supposed to be hard. Life is supposed to be hard. You're supposed to think this is terrible. You're supposed to suffer and smile through the pain regardless. Discipline is the key to success in all realms as a man. And if you lack it, you stand no chance. You can give most people a roadmap to success. You can give them a Ferrari with a full tank of gas, and a lot of people still wouldn't make the destination because they would say the drive is too far away. Quitters, they don't have the discipline. You can tell them exactly how to do it. You can give them the mechanism to get there, but they don't have the discipline to complete the drive and end up at the destination. That is the majority of Earth. This is your competition. People who, even if they are told what to do and people tell them exactly how to do it and help them do it, still quit, still fail because they lack discipline. Even me, with my monumental powers, I can't make a quitter successful. It doesn't matter how good I am. It doesn't matter how easily I make it for them to succeed. It doesn't matter how compendious and concise and powerful the real world is. It doesn't matter how much I text them and motivate them, how many emergency meetings I do to try and talk to them and hype them up, how much motivation I give them. It doesn't matter what I do. If they are a quitter, guess what they're going to do? They're going to quit. No matter how simple the map is to read, no matter how fast the Ferrari is, somewhere along the drive, the sun's going to get in their eyes, and they're going to sit there and go, I don't like this is hard, and they're going to quit. Quitters are the number one type of people that nobody can help. If you're a quitter, I can't help you, life can't help you, God himself cannot help a quitter. So if you lack discipline, you lack the very basic building block to any type of success which exists on the planet. By every single metric which can be measured with science, you are going to stay a loser and a failure. The key is to keep training. If you train hard every single day, you don't have to worry about a little bit of vitamin C.
It's true.
If you don't train and you don't smoke, you're still going to be a pussy.
Yes.
The answer is always hard work. As soon as you are granted life, you are guaranteed death. What you do in between is up to you. You are all conscious. That could end tomorrow, that could end in 100 years. But the time between the beginning of your consciousness and the end of it is completely up to you. Training is never the wrong decision. If you're in jail, you should train. If you are free, you should train. If you are rich, you should train. If you are poor, you should train. If you smoke, you should train. If you don't smoke, you should train. If you drink, you should train. If you don't drink, you should train. You cannot escape that hard work is always the correct decision. There is no time in any scenario when working hard is going to be the wrong answer. You should always try your very best in all things. I will smoke 10 cigars a day and beat the shit out of you because I train harder than you can possibly fathom. Pain is an extremely important part of the equation. Pain is the elixir of success. When people say this bad thing happened to me and I'm suffering, I say good. It is pain which is required. It's one of the elements in the chemical reaction. If a chemical reaction requires 5 particular distinct compounds and you have 4 and you're missing 1, it simply doesn't work. Pain for a man is one of the most important elements in becoming successful. Batman is Batman because they killed his parents. If they did not kill his parents, he would not be Batman. You're supposed to suffer. You're supposed to take that pain. The worst thing that can happen to you as a man is you live a life with no pain in it. To be born into a rich family and have a nice, easy life and be given money and you don't have to go to the gym and not have to train because you have bodyguards and sit around like a fuck up. You're going to be miserable and unhappy and a drug addict buying prostitutes. You're only going to have women who adore you. You're only going to feel confident in yourself and feel happy when you've been through hell and come out the other side. The pain is required. And you'll often notice that people who are better than you are people who have suffered more than you have suffered. So, the person who is waiting for you, he requires your motivation, also requires huge amounts of pain. So when bad things happen to you, do not sit at home and lament. Do not feel sorry for yourself. Instead, look in the mirror and say, thank you, God, for giving me one of the ingredients that is needed for the chemical concoction that is going to turn me into a superhero. Because pain is an extremely important one. In fact, it's one of the most important ones for a man. Everything is war. All of it. Sitting in the commute without losing your patience is war. Trying to find a way to escape your slave job is war. Keeping your wife happy and your children inspired is war. Training to become stronger than before is war. It is all war, and it cannot be avoided. And I'll tell you why it's war. Because war is two opposing sides trying to achieve the same goal. Two opposing sides want the same land or the same influence over X land. And the car you want, the Ferrari, you're not the only person who wants it. The reason it's so expensive is because others people want it. The girl you want, the beautiful woman, everyone wants her. It is war. It is competition. Everything about life as a man is war. It is conflict because you are competing against the other men who want it the same, which is why discipline is such an important thing, which is why you must take the pain and add it to the concoction to become as formidable as possible. Life is war. This idea that you can go through life as a man and avoid war is probably the biggest mistake that most men make, because it is impossible for you to achieve anything significant without war. Running a business is war. Running a hotel, running a restaurant, running an online company, it's war. Training is war. Life as a man is war. You need to wake up and view it exactly as what it is. Everything I want, other people want. Everything I desire, other men are trying to get. This is a war, and I must outcompete them. That is the best possible mental model you can have. Even in jail, it was a war for who could stay most calm. A war who could control their mind the best. A war for who could suffer the least. That is war. I was surrounded by people who lost their minds and I refused. It was a battle and I was successful. Life in and of itself as a man is a never-ending struggle and a never-ending battle. It is the constant of the human condition. Evolution requires pain. While others complain that they do not feel happy enough, I'm happy I'm struggling. I don't want to be happy. I want to be great. This is the beauty of life as a man. Do you understand? I don't care. I'm happy to be struggling. I wanted to fight. You wanted to win. I wanted to fight. That's the difference. You're concerned with winning. I wanted to just fight. And we're fighting. That is the beauty of life as a man, to be great. If you concern yourself only with being happy, you are once again acting like a female or a child. Happiness is fleeting. It doesn't even matter. If you're concerned only with the hedonism of happiness, you're going to drink alcohol and go to parties and go to festivals and take drugs. I want to be happy. Who cares? I want to be great. I want to be great all of the time. And let me ask you a question as a man at home, genuinely, truthfully. Would you rather be a loser who's always smiling, a happy loser, or would you rather be a stressed winner? Because I'll tell you something about winners. Most of them are stressed.
We are stressed.
We're stressed. Putin is stressed. Genghis Khan was stressed when his messenger turned up after a 4-week ride with updates from the battlefront of Iran. I'm sure he was stressed by what he read. Even if it was very good, even if it all looked fantastic, he started to feel stressed. Okay, well now maybe I need to go to Iran. How long is it going to take me to get there? Maybe we need to send more horses. Maybe we need to colonize Iran. He felt stress because the beauty of life as a man is to be great. So you have to sit here and ask yourself, do you want to be a happy loser that's insignificant? Nobody knows you exist. Women don't respect you. Men don't respect you. Nobody cares if you live or die, but you get to smile all the time. Or do you want to be one of the most important people on the planet with a little bit of stress? I am brilliant because I've decided to be brilliant. And if I have to sacrifice happiness to be brilliant, then that's fine. You know what the great thing about it is? You know what's amazing what God gives, how the whole world becomes full circle? If you stop caring about being happy and you start caring instead about being great, guess what you end up being?
Great.
Along with great.
And you know what? Yeah,
Happy. You end up happy if you forget about happiness and try to become great. You will never be successful if you're concerned about being happy, so forget about it. I like to consider myself a wise old man, and I'm trying my best to encourage and instigate a revolution amongst the youth where men take absolute self-accountability and they believe in themselves and they take responsibility for absolutely everything. As a man, you are most formidable if everything is your fault. If it rains outside and you get wet, that is still your fault. Can you control the rain? No. Could you have brought an umbrella? Yes. You need to blame yourself for all things, the good and the bad. And by doing this, you take absolute self-accountability, which allows you to build a mental model in which you will find solutions. 1, 2, avoid trouble because you know that anything bad happens to you is your fault. And 3, be the most fearsome competitor possible because we're living in a very competitive world nowadays amongst the elites. The people who understand that you're living inside of a fish tank are trying very hard to get out. And you have to make sure that you can outrun some of them if you want to escape. It's an age-old adage. If a bear is chasing a group of people, you do not have to be the fastest one. You just have to be faster than the slowest. The slowest person is going to die. So as long as you're ahead of the majority of people, you stand a very good chance of avoiding slavery.
Yeah, they say ignorance is bliss. I think it's 2 ways. I know what you're saying. Ignorant people can, to a degree, be happier in certain scenarios than others.
Good.
Yeah, because they don't understand what's really happening.
Yeah.
They don't understand about the battle of good and evil. They don't understand about the Matrix. They don't understand that they're a slave. Yeah. They don't understand it. And they're ignorant to how good their life could be. So they think their life is good. I understand all that. But that all changes when times get hard. Because those people are not happening to life. Life is happening to them. And they are subject to
circumstances.
Correct. I'm not subject to circumstance. No matter what happens, I can change country. I can fight against the wind.
You are the circumstance.
I can disappear. I am the circumstance. Tate arrives and circumstances change. Whereas these people cannot do that. The circumstances dictates their life. And on a long enough time scale, especially in the world we're currently living in, I think that things are going to get a lot harder for these people, and they will see soon that ignorance is not bliss because they cannot pay their heating bill. Whereas if they were less ignorant and paid attention, they'd be able to be living in a mansion like me with heating on full blast. So this is what happens, and it's good until it isn't, being ignorant. And also, I don't think God rewards ignorance. And I don't think most people out here are ignorant. I don't think but I'll say this now. I don't think most people out here are ignorant. I think that most people out here are cowards.
And they choose to be ignorant.
Yeah, I think they choose to be ignorant because they're cowards. They pretend there's no battle. They pretend there's no fight because they're too scared to fight. But most people out here understand everything I say is true. Most people out here understand that there's the shaitan and evil is being forced upon the youth of the children, being youth of the world, and they're trying very hard to destroy society at a fundamental level, and they want to enslave all of us. And I think most people know that, but they're just too scared to say it and too scared to fight against it. So they pretend they don't know it because they are cowards. Ignorance is not our problem. Cowardice is our problem. And I'll say one thing. This battle that we're currently embroiled in is not a battle that anybody can avoid. When God and Satan themselves decide to fight for the morality of humanity as a whole, it's a monumental fight, which is one of the largest fights that has ever taken place anywhere in the known universe. And it's not something you can just hide away from. You can't be an ostrich and put your head in the sand and ignore the 2 titans of good and evil fighting. You have 2 choices. Either you understand what's happening in the world today and you're on the side of good and you're fighting against the Matrix, or you've accepted all the Matrix programming to pretend that there is no battle, and then by extension you're going to end up fighting against your own mind. And you're going to be in a fight either way. Your mind's either right and you're fighting externally against the enemy, or you've accepted the Matrix programming and you're sitting there fighting against your own depression, your own anxiety, fighting against your own struggles inside of yourself. You're going to fight anyway. There is no way to avoid this. So you have to make a decision. Do you want to have control of your own mind and control of yourself and fight for God and fight on the side of good against evil? Or do you want to accept the evil programming, fall down a hole of degeneracy and fight against yourself and self-destruct and implode? That's your choice to make. But I think the intelligent choice is to fight against evil. Music, yeah, I was messing around with music for a while. I only did that because I knew a guy who wanted to be a musician. And I'd meet him and say, how are things going? He'd go, bro, nearly finished my song, gonna finish my album, and we're gonna make a lot of money. I was like, cool. 6 months later, I'd see him, how's things? Hey, bro, almost done with the album. I was like, it's been 6 months. An album? Yeah, but you don't understand. You gotta mix the track. It takes time. Mixing a track okay, we have computers, 10 minutes? Okay, two days. It's been 6 months, bro. I sit to him and say, it can't take this long. You're just smoking weed. You're not working. And he's like, no, you don't know. So I thought, okay, I'll make a track. So I made a song. I wrote some lyrics and hit a guy up, got a beat, got a mic. I know I'm not talented. Talked, blah, blah, blah. I made a song in 2.5 hours. And I started releasing these songs I made in 2 hours. And it was just to spite that guy, just to teach him a lesson about how speed works. It's funny because
Obviously not because of my musical talents, but because of my influence everywhere else. I got millions of views on my videos. Yeah. So I beat him. Yeah. So like, how many views you got? Yeah. 0. And it's not because the songs are good, not because I think I'm a musical genius, but because I'm Tate. But yeah, they're like an hour, 2 hours. I threw them together, and it was just a lesson in speed to make sure that I wasn't making any mistakes. When he was telling me it genuinely took months, I knew he was wrong, but the only way you truly know is to do. So I was like, this has to be a lie. So I made a song in 2 hours. I made a video in 3 hours, and boom, boom. From 9 a.m. till 1 p.m., bang, millions of views, done. And he's still talking about his album. He's probably still talking about it today. It probably doesn't even exist. Comes out tomorrow. Yeah, be ready.
It's coming.
Yeah. No, I wake up. I check my phone. I go through my phone for about half an hour. I then go and I start training. As I train, I stay on my phone in between sets. Yeah. I'm a phone addict, I guess you can call it, but that's where all the important things happen. Yeah. I have an empire. I have an empire that spans across 25 countries. Like I'm on my phone. I know that for peace of mind, I should use my phone less. I don't want peace of mind. I want chaos.
You want to conquer.
I want to conquer the earth. Yeah. Genghis Khan did not want peace of mind. Yeah. If he did, he would have stopped. I don't want peace of mind. I wake up, I train, I stay on my phone, then I begin working. I'm doing a podcast now. If I'm not doing a podcast, or if I'm not driving, or if I'm not fighting, I'm online. And I live my entire life online. If I'm awake, I'm working. If I sit to have shisha tonight at 9 or 10 p.m. and there's a whole bunch of hot girls around and my brother's there and we're all chilling and we're talking, I'm doing all of that while I'm on my phone. Yeah. I am working at the same time. I can easily sit and manage a multi-million-dollar empire and talk to some bimbo at the same time. Yeah. I'm not an idiot. It's not hard. I work. All I do is work. All I do is work. I don't know how else to say it to you. People meet me and they're like, I'm surprised. I thought you'd be like this. I'm surprised how like quiet you are and you're just working. Correct. I have a very, very large and vast empire across huge swaths of the world and different industries. And anything I've ever wanted, if I want a beautiful female or a Bugatti, another one, or $100 million or whatever, I'm going to get it via my phone. Yeah. So I work. That's who I am. It's what I do. In fact, a video just released on YouTube, and it was from here in Dubai, and it's 12 minutes long, and it was behind the scenes of Tate. And it's a camera guy. Yeah.
Dubai, Tate in Dubai.
Yeah, and there's one of the comments on there is, wow, Andrew's always on his phone. I work. If I'm awake, I work. From the second I'm awake, first thing I do is check my phone. And the last thing I do before I close my eyes, I'm on my phone. I am working. I probably sleep 4 to 5 hours a night. I don't necessarily recommend that. I know some people need more. It's actually interesting. I sleep like 4 to 5 hours a night, maybe average, for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then I'll get to a point where I just need to sleep for like 15 hours. Wow. And I'll sleep a bunch, and then I'm back.
You catch up, yeah.
And then I'll go to bed at 3. I'm back up at 8, go to bed at 4, up at 8, and then, but after a few weeks, I'm like, okay, I need like a day where I sleep. And I put my phone in airplane mode so that people, when they're messaging me, they know I'm not getting it. Because if they're coming through and I'm not replying, people panic. Yeah. That's how much I'm on my phone. Jesus. I'm on my phone so much that if messages are being delivered and I don't reply within 10 minutes, people start panicking. Is he okay? Have they got him? Have they got him yet? Christ. You know, because there's people trying to get me. So I have to put airplane mode, which doesn't really fix it, because I guess if they do get me, it might be the day my phone gets busted. Yeah. I don't know, but it's kind of a thing I do for the people who care about me. But yeah, I work. That's why no one's ever going to beat me. There's a whole bunch of other people and like gurus and self-help coaches and these people online. None of them have been through the things I've been through. Most of them are still kids. I don't even know how old you are, and I state
I'm
this.
20.
Okay, 20, perfect. So I state this with absolute respect. You don't know shit about life till you're 30. You just don't. You haven't lived enough.
Yeah.
You can be smart, but you can't be wise.
Yeah.
Anybody who's taking advice from a 25-year-old on the internet, you're a dummy. Because at 25, I was stupid.
That's why I'm not giving advice. I'm interviewing you.
Correct. But at 25, I was dumb. Yeah. And I'm the smartest man on the planet. Yeah. So, like, if you're sitting here and you're watching some guy's videos and just Google his age, don't listen to none of these people, right? They can have opinions. They can be entertaining. They can interview others. Yeah. They can give their insights. But also keep in mind, they are still young, right? As a man, it takes a long time. You have to go through a bunch of crap to learn things. Pain. Exactly. So nobody can outwork me. Nobody can outcompete me. Nobody has a network like mine. And we're talking about me doing 17 hours a day. I have thousands of people on my work schedule. Like I have 100 people who work for me directly. I have thousands of people inside the war room and 170,000 people inside of HU who, if I were to send them a message, would do it. People I know, how do you conquer the algorithm? How do you do this? How do you do that? The number of hours of work which is done per day in the name of Tate is immeasurable. It's incalculable. It's 5,000 people. Well, let's do the math. 5,000 very competent men doing 17-hour days in the name of Tate. No one's ever going to beat me. The internet is mine. I own it. If you go on TikTok for 10 seconds, it's me. It's Tate Talk.
True.
It's the same with Instagram Reels. It's all mine. There's no competition. Nobody, doesn't matter how big your ad spend is, doesn't matter what marketing agency you go to, you will always lose to me for eternity. Until the day they finally put a bullet in my head, I own the world. And I will continue to own the world. All of it is mine. And anyone who thinks that I get to the top and slow down is a fool, because I do the absolute opposite. I will crush all of my competition for head to toe. There isn't even any competition. There's nobody on my level. And I'm still outworking all of them.
No.
And that's my competitive advantage. I don't want to do that.
The enjoyment for you is the work, not the...
Completely. Other people are like, oh, I'm here now, so I can now go on holiday. I don't want to stop working. I don't want a holiday. I don't want to relax. Is this relaxing? I'm going to try and relax for the first time in my life. We'll do this here on live on the podcast. Ready?
Yeah.
Ready? Am I supposed to want to do that? what was that? What was it? Like, is that it? Is that the dream?
Doing nothing.
Is that the goal? Like, and if I'm not on my phone, my brain is preoccupied and anxious about what's happening on my phone. So it's better to just be on it. Like, I don't want to relax. I don't want to stop.
Ain't no rest for the wicked.
No, I don't want to stop. That's why nobody will ever beat me, because all these other people, they want to take time out of their life.
They're working to relax.
They're working to relax, or they want to go on a date with that. I'm at the point now where I'd look at a beautiful woman and go, I can go on a date with her and she's absolutely gorgeous and perhaps we'll fall in love and it'll be great. But you know what? I'd rather work. I don't want to be off my phone.
Yeah.
I don't want to date girls. I just want to conquer the earth. I don't care about anything else. So that's why I'm always going to win. Because if you don't struggle, you don't learn.
Yeah.
God created us to learn and understand ourselves and understand other people and understand the world. And what did I say earlier? I said that you don't learn a lesson or you don't appreciate something without pain. So you have to struggle to learn anything. There's only two ways to learn things, the hard way or the harder way. If you're smart, you can learn the hard way. But in my experience, 99% of the planet only learn the hardest possible way. If the lesson's even 85% effective, they'll make the same mistake. It's only when they completely decimate and destroy an element of their life do they sit there and go, oops, now I get it.
No.
That's how it goes. Yeah, so the Matrix attacked me.
Yeah.
They tried to remove me from social media.
They used their bullets.
They used their bullets. I'm still all over social media, so they failed.
They failed.
What's scary about it, the only thing I will say I don't like about being banned is that you get 3 lives when you attack powerful people. They first ban you and try and shut you up. Secondly, they'll put you in jail for something you didn't do. And thirdly, they'll kill you. So I've used my first life, which is kind of upsetting when you know that next is going to be some false charges.
The 2 worst ones.
Yeah, and if you survive the false charges, you just die.
Jesus.
So that's kind of upsetting. But
that's kind of upsetting.
It is. I like to, it's kind of upsetting. I like to think that people at home know if I ever ended up in a jail cell and the media started printing why, that they'd know it's a pure lie they made it up.
Yeah.
But that's kind of scary. Outside of that, the ban in and of itself has not. I don't care, bro. It's made no difference to my life. The only thing Instagram was good for was a bunch of chicks, and you know I don't need it, so I don't care about any of that stuff.
Yeah,
I do think the social media companies have made a mistake. I think they're now realizing they've made a mistake.
Are they contacting you?
I can't say what's happening, but I do believe I will be reinstated. However, it's truly not that important at this time. If I had to martyr my social media accounts to show the world that everything I was saying was true about the Matrix, then it was worth it, right? Yeah. I knew exactly what was going to happen, and they proved me completely and utterly right, and it backfired. They tried to put a media spin on the event and convince the world that I'm a bad person, and that has failed. Nobody believes I'm a bad person. 99% of the comments on any of my videos are positive. I'm speaking to people who are now waking up and understanding that the media machine lies, and the only people who truly dislike me are the slave minds. If I ever hear about somebody disliking me, when you ask them why, they don't know. They don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what's scary. What's scary to me is that there's people out there that have a strong emotional reaction to scenarios, people, or events, and they don't even know why.
They just read a headline.
But that's the true slave mind. When someone can say a name to you and you're furious and you go, why are you angry? I don't know. Like that shows how programmed you are.
They can control his emotions like this.
They can control you.
Yeah.
So anybody who's critically thinking, anybody with a brain,
it's a problem.
Yeah. So anybody with a brain who could think for themselves likes me, and anybody who hates me is barely sentient. So it's kind of good where now I have a very strong filter. Like, I don't like you. I know you're an idiot. That's fine. Instantly, I know you're an idiot. Oh, bro, I love your work. Ah, a person who thinks. So it's kind of convenient. It's kind of convenient to instantly filter, my life. But I must have been approached by 100,000 people as I walked the street, and I've never had anybody say anything negative to me on the street ever. Male, female, old, young, never. Everybody, including women, love me. They all say, you're saying the truth. You're doing such important work. I've never had anything. The mentors, the idols, the icons that they purport to the youth via the Matrix are degenerate. Because they want a degenerate class of semi-miserable, sad people. Yeah. You're never going to be truly happy in your mind if you go against the teachings of God. I don't care how much money you make. If you're a bad person, you're not going to feel happy. I don't care how much money you make. If you snake people or lie to people or do bad to people, you're never going to feel happy true deep in your heart. True in your heart, we're intrinsically designed to do right and do good. And that's something that God gave us. And when you have that, you understand that that's more important than anything else. So these people who are up here promoting degeneracy, saying, take Percocets and bang girls and drink vodka and you're going to be, going to be great. I drink. I'm not saying I don't drink, but that's not my message, right? Yeah. And those people are never truly happy, and they're trying to purport that and convince people to do the same, so that the whole populace is never truly happy. And like I said, now we go in circles. We've already discussed why they don't want us to be happy. Exactly, so that's why. I love alcohol, right? I drink, right? So I'm a drinker. But it's not my message. I don't sit here on a podcast and say, everyone drink. But rappers' message is degeneracy.
Drink, crime, rob this guy.
Completely. And
kill that guy.
Completely. And I'm saying that if you live that way, you're never going to be truly happy in your heart. If you want to feel happy inside of yourself, and you want to feel content, and you want to feel stable inside of yourself, you need to live true to God. And I'm not saying you can't drink a little bit of alcohol or not party or not have a little bit of fun, but you have to be a good person.
You have to balance life.
You have to balance life. You have to be a good person overall. I know I'm a good person, and when the Matrix is trying to convince the world that I'm not, that just proves even further that I'm a good person. The world we now live in today, when the mass media machine is trying to tell you somebody is evil, you can know pretty well that person's probably good, and vice versa. Like, there's a reason they are trying so hard to convince people to ignore their own ears. People listen to my message and go, that's a positive message, and the media machine's going, no, it's not positive, he's bad. They're trying to brainwash you. I don't believe in the societal paradigms in which they have tried to construct this idea of happiness. I don't believe or subscribe to the way that happy and sad is currently understood by the masses of the population. I think if you are anything less than absolutely distraught, you are happy. You're a version of happy. It's like saying gray is a version of black, right? No matter how light the gray is, you can still call it a version of black. And unless you've gone through an event, which hopefully doesn't happen too often, like the passing of a family member or something that's truly destructive and detrimental to your mindset, besides these events, which hopefully only happen a few times in your life, you should be happy. If you're not crying or paralyzed in silence due to the absolute magnitude of a detrimental circumstance or the absolute magnitude of a negative event, then you are a version of happy. So I am always happy is the short answer. I don't believe in not being happy. I don't believe in not saying to myself I'm happy. I'm always a version of happy. And this idea of chasing happiness and always being concerned and preoccupied with how happy you are is actually the biggest mistake that a lot of people make, I think, in the world today, especially men who wake up and go, I don't really feel happy, so I need to get happier. And that's how they end up down a hedonistic path of drugs or alcohol or gambling, chasing pleasure. I don't care how I feel. I don't care if I feel happy or sad. It doesn't really affect what I do each day. I do the exact same things. I act the exact same way. I don't care. I don't put weight to the significance of the emotion. So I always consider myself a happy person, but if I woke up and I was slightly less happy one day than another, it wouldn't affect anything I do, and I wouldn't put any relevance to it. I'm human, and that's life. And so am I any happier now that I have hundreds of millions of dollars than before I was broke? Not really, but I was never unhappy. I'm the same state that I was then, that I am now. I have work to do, and I will do it. It's as simple as that. Well, also, there's no light without dark, and there's no joy without pain. You can't have a rainbow without a little rain.
Exactly.
And no matter how hard you chase pleasure and happiness, there's going to be dips and troughs in between. There's going to be come downs and downtrends, and you're going to have the juxtaposition between that time you were laughing your head off and acting giddish like a child and the time that you feel depressed as such. And I think it's much better to just adopt a very disciplined, stoic mindset. I'm always the same base level of happy regardless. If I lost all of my money today, I would be the same happy.
Mm-hmm.
If my net worth quadrupled, I'd be the same happiness.
Yeah.
As long as I'm alive, which is a struggle, unfortunately, in the current climate. But as long as I'm alive and the people I care about and love are alive, and as long as God gives me the honor of doing my duties and providing for the people I care about, as long as I get to wake up and know that there's a whole bunch of people in the world who need me and I get to work hard to please them and do good for society and good for the world, then I'm a vessel of God and I'm happy enough to survive. That's all I look at it as. I don't ever consider how do I feel. That doesn't cross my mind. I have things to do. I have things to do.
You're too busy to think about that.
I'm too busy. I have things to do every single day. I have very important things to do, and how I feel really is not going to affect how I complete those tasks.
Right.
And when I speak to men, they say I'm unhappy or I need to be happier. I think that's absolutely the wrong frame of life. You're a man, you have duty, you have honor, you have things you should be doing regardless of how you feel. And the people who are perma-obsessed with happiness or sadness, I just think it's the wrong paradigm to view the lens of life. I think you should get up and do what needs to be done. I'm absolutely a positive influence, and that's the problem. The key word there is influence. The reason the Matrix has attacked me is because of that. It's because I am an influence.
Yeah.
And when
they don't like influence.
They don't like influence because I've not sold my soul. They don't control me. And normally when you become massively influential, they control you. You either sign a contract or you're a sponsor or you're a manager.
A record label.
Whatever. They have some kind of leverage over you to make sure you only say what you are supposed to say. I'm an individual which they do not control. I have mass influence over the population of Earth.
Yeah.
And when you have somebody like me who is principled, who has morals, who believes in God, who will not sell their soul, will not promote degeneracy, who also has mass influence, they see me as a threat because they say there are certain agendas which he will not promote because of his morality.
Right.
And we need immoral people who have sold their souls absolutely and completely, so they'll enforce the slave programming amongst the population. So they see me as a threat because of my mass influence. And me being positive in and of itself is also a threat to the establishment because they don't want people to be happy. They want you to be semi-depressed and sad and miserable because when you're sad, you're self-obsessed.
And you're distracted.
You're distracted and you're self-obsessed. When you're sad, you're sitting at home, me. It makes you very selfish. You don't care about your community when you're sad. You don't care about your country when you're sad. You don't care about the injustices of the world when you're sad. You don't care about trying to actually go and make the world a better place because you're too busy thinking about yourself. So they want you miserable, semi-depressed, sad, unhappy, so that you can sit at home and accept them doing whatever they want to the planet and other people without ever talking or standing up or doing the right thing. If you're happy and motivated, you're going to be far more likely to fight against injustices. So the fact that I have mass influence and I can just make people feel better is a threat to them. They don't want me to make people feel better. They talk about men's mental health.